Greetings, Dr. Joseph Martin again. Today's topic is healing shame through being vulnerable and empathetic once you've done all your inner healing. Well, why would we talk about shame? Well, the fact is, if you're a human being, then like myself and all the other people I know, you are fully shame-based, and that's 100% of the time in 100% of your mind and feelings and your physical body. How did we get to be this way? Well, the emotional intelligence of humanity in the 21st century is probably 4% of where it could be. It's the same percentage of our intelligence, as Einstein would say, of our higher consciousness. It's about 4%. It's not even up to majority yet. In any case, shame. What is it? You feel bad about yourself. You feel less than. You feel no good. You feel embarrassed, you feel humiliated, you feel like you have wet blankets on your mind and your feelings and your body and your shoulders. You feel always insignificant, you feel incompetent, you feel that you're a victim, you feel many, many things. You feel basically just humiliated all the time. You feel that you'll never amount to much in your life. And you're either feeling this and as well being told this by your parents, by your family, by your relatives, by your peer group, by your teachers, by those in your religion, and those, if you do go a religious institution. The injustice system is based on making the victims of a court case feel like they're the ones at fault. And that's what shame does. It makes you feel like you're at fault for things that have been done to you. Well, of course, nothing is farther from the truth. That is a lie. Nevertheless, doesn't matter. You still feel ashamed all the time. You never amount to much. And so you don't know how to get ahead in life. You don't know how to deal with these all pervasive, all depressing, all compressing feelings of oppression. You do it to yourself, and of course, others do it to you. It is part of your past lives' karma. Because all institutions in society and all cultures and all civilizations, including our present one, even more so than ever, are all shame-based. Everything in society is based on shame. People shame you into buying something. They shame you into doing something you don't want to do. They shame you into thinking something you don't want to think. They shame you into accepting a lifestyle that is not unique to you, and it's much less than what you could be accomplishing and being in your life. So, unless you deal with your shame, you're going to have one hell of a life, and you'll never amount to much. Not because you would want to, but you're not going to unless you deal with your shame and transmute, transform, and evolve this into something different. I know that you're experiencing this as I'm talking to you, and yes, I am talking to you, and I hopefully, truthfully inspire you to your greatness by dealing with this shame. Now, as I've said, all society of all times, including all cultures of the world, and every individual feels shame at some time or other. Even when you start to deal with the process of energizing and transforming your shame, you're still going to feel it now and then, as I do. In my personal story, I came from a shame-based society and culture and family and extended family. And it's often a result of war, as it was in many of our cases in the world today. And, through abuse, all kinds of abuse that I went through myself, so I do know what I'm talking about. And as a clinical psychologist trained with marriage and family therapy and so on for over 40 years here in Canada, I've been able to deal with thousands of people who are shame-based and live in shame-based marriages or families or communities. You can and you must and you need to deal with shame. Now, it is unjust that this is the way it is, but we have to deal with it and we have to do something about it. When you decide to be courageous enough to deal with your shame, and it is the substance of the I Am Self-Worth online coaching program, which I've instituted based on 40 years of clinical work, studying and training as a medical psychological anthropologist and teaching this in my own clinics and my own training settings, you can and will deal with your shame. What you need to do is you need to take a step. You need to say, yes, I'm going to deal with this because this is just too much for me and I need to do something positive about moving forward in my life. And you can and you will do this now and in the days and weeks and months and years to come. So you need to start by becoming open and vulnerable with your feelings and start to share them with yourself. Write them out in your journal. They'll be there in your dreams. Work with your dreams. Go to see a coach, a mentor, or better still, someone clinically trained in dealing with shame and emotions. You need to bump up your emotional intelligence, maybe read a few good books on shame. John Bradshaw, some good books on this, and many other people. Read books, Daniel Goleman on emotional intelligence and many other good books. But do seek a good counselor, and I suggest highly that you do this. And also, therefore, in that way, you will be able to become emotionally vulnerable. The strongest woman or man is someone who can choose to be and allow themselves to be emotionally vulnerable. Only when you deal with this and you start to deal with your anger and rage around all these issues and past experiences, and of course your sadness and your grief around it, how it's led you to be so desperately lonely and exceedingly depressed, and how it's led you to be just afraid of life and not even doing anything with yourself. That is important for you to realize that you can own the feelings, process the feelings, move forward in your life, and choose to be vulnerable and share them with your friends and those you trust. Trust is the biggest issue on the planet today. You need to find loyal, trusting friends. As I'm speaking about this, I'm aware of many men, strong men, that is, like physically strong, kind of bodybuilder kind of guys, who are dealing with their emotions in a way by choosing to be vulnerable. And I say to you guys out there, you're only strong when you're vulnerable. Everything else is a mask, and you're just hiding your insecurity, and you're hiding your loneliness. You need to do something. Just get with it. And to do that, also at the same time, you'll start feeling compassion for yourself. Now, there are two kinds of inner children, and you need to realize this. Again, look for John Bradshaw's books and Conrad Stetbacher books about suffering and how to deal with suffering, and Alice Miller's books on the inner children, the inner child. She's got about 15 books. Alice Miller. You've got your bright, light inner child who's full of joy and passion, excitement, and wants to play and have fun and enjoy life. And you need to activate and get in touch with this part of your self-conscious. He's buried or she's buried somewhere deep in your heart and your physical body. At the same time, when the light child comes up, the dark child is going to come up. The hurtful, the hurted, sad, angry, afraid, terrified little dark child, a girl, a boy. Whether you're a man or a woman, you're going to have inner children of different genders, and that's all good too. But you need to hold the light child and let the light child come forward and give you the strength to be empathetic and vulnerable and open. And the dark child needs to be understood and listened to. You need to let him or her have all their feelings and move forward with this. And over time, it's a process. It may take you a few years. That's fine. Just get on the path and do it now. Start now wherever you're at. That's the way to be. Then as the light and dark children start to work together around the circle, the healing circle of the open heart, the spiritual, sacred, and emotional, physiological, psychological heart, you're going to find a lot of process. The shame is going to, at some point when you've dealt with all your anger and rage and sadness and fears, along the way you're going to have to start working on forgiveness. Now, A Course in Miracles states that forgiveness is always and only just for yourself. Forgive yourself, in the sense of you needed this experience. It's a very growth-enhancing experience. It's the best way to evolve in a society that's devolving as a result of all the shame blankets that we're putting on one another. So you're going to start to forgive yourself, and only when you've dealt with all the anger towards your abusers or victimizers will you also then be capable and ready to forgive all those who've harmed you and to let it go as if nothing's happened. This, of course, is the message of Jesus, and it's the message of Nelson Mandela. Study his life, read the book, A Long Walk to Freedom, Long Road to Freedom. There's a movie out now about it. You know, instead of wanting revenge, forgive those captive people who imprisoned you, whether psychologically and or emotionally, and of course physically in Nelson Mandela's case. When you do this, you will find empathy. You'll want to find inclusiveness. You'll forgive those victimizers and abusers. You'll realize that, you know, the joy and happiness in life comes from forgiveness and having empathy and kindness to those, because they themselves have been abused, or otherwise they wouldn't be doing what they do. They will then have the capacity and the possibility, when they see the joy and the shift in you, transformation, of then going back and starting to heal their own inner children in their own lives. So this is the great message of how shame can be healed. You can come to a place of higher emotional intelligence, and through being vulnerable and being empathetic and sharing your life and story and openly creating some loyal, trusting friendships, you too will have a great life. Now, the light is strong in every one of us, but it's only going to come out when you do your inner process work and transformation. I wish you well. I wish you all joy, happiness, and productivity on this path of healing the shame and finding great forgiveness, kindness, respect, empathy, and most of all, you will end up feeling great self-love and self-confidence and self-worth. All joy on your path and process. I'll see you again soon. Dr. Joseph, Om Namah Shivaya.